Welcome to our meeting. It is actually the quarterly meeting of our Clifton Community Council, and our meeting will, of course, be respectful, and it will, of course, be productive. But I felt it's important that we start out the meeting correctly. Father Roy, if you come up here, please. Father Roy Stiles lives on Payne Street, and I asked him at this time of grief, as well as a time of anxiety, fear, and looking forward as to repair our home to life, that I needed for Dr. Father Roy to say a few words.
Thank you, Mike. It might be good if we have just a moment of silence to center ourselves, get in touch with your feelings and the things that you're anxious about. You may be grieving, you may be angry, you may be recovering. There could be all sorts of feelings going on. Now I'm going to use a rather ancient prayer. Some of you might identify with this. O Lord, make us an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let us sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. And where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that we may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
I think everybody has an agenda on their seat. And my name is Michael Leary. I am the president of the Clifton Community Council. And for those who you received the Clifton Quarterly, you may discover that tonight the agenda has been changed and the speakers have been changed. Also, very important, I need to give a shout out to United Christian Ministries Executive Director Mark Howell. This building, United Christian Ministries, is our community center, and time of crisis, it's a wonderful place to meet, as well as in time of celebration. And where are you?
Back here.
There it is, okay. So, on the back of your agenda are the services that United Christian Ministry provides. So please look that over, and keep in mind that in our 40206 zip code, we are blessed to have Mark Howell and his staff providing services that we in the neighborhood can use and do use. I want to welcome everybody tonight. Thank you for coming. You have noticed that you've got index cards on your chair. We're asking, please, if you would write down questions, comments, anything you want, and for Councilman Owen. And we are just trying to get all the questions we can before the question and answer period. And if you could put them in writing, and all the index cards go to Councilman Owen. So, according to the agenda, I want to wholeheartedly welcome our neighbors and business people in the neighborhood, in the surrounding neighborhood. I want to welcome Ann Leonard, who is the president of Business Givaudan. Hold on, I'm running a tight ship, so. Ann and I had some emails going back and forth, and I'm so tickled and delighted because she was telling me in the emails that she's looking forward to tonight. So I would say I have a pretty few just in case it's needed. So anyway, moving along. If we can have elected officials, please identify yourselves. Any elected officials? Councilman Owen, okay.
Deputy Mayor George.
I'm sorry?
Deputy Mayor George
Oh, well,
and Deputy Mayor James are here.
I think that falls under the Metro Louisville officials, the deputy mayor. So,
That's true.
if you are a government official, if you could please just raise your hand and stand up so we can identify you.
Give a little wave.
Thank you very much. And also over here, Savannah, if you could please stand up. And as we know in Clifton, we are a historic preservation district. And anytime there's a change, exterior change to our property, landmarks have got to be involved if it's more than just mere maintenance. And so Savannah is a staff person for landmarks. And if you have questions about how are you going to repair the front of your house, your window is blown out or your front door is blown out, she is the person to talk to. She has the information, she has business cards, and also she's got a list of contractors that work in preservation districts. So that's it, Savannah. And also, I want to welcome the members of the media. Actually, a couple of days after the explosion, I got most of my information from the media, and I always wanted to say how much I appreciated that. So the media. The meeting format is, we're going to be 90 minutes, we're going to stick to it, 6 o'clock. And also, as I mentioned, index cards have been passed out. If you have questions, comments, please write them down. And then sort them up, and one of our Clifton Community Council people will pick up the card. And then Ann will be giving a presentation, and then we'll have a question and answer after Ann's presentation. And the question and answer will be moderated by our councilman.
There's a section of chaplains and associate group.
Oh,
7 counties.
okay.
They should identify themselves.
Quickly, 7 counties is here, and okay. Oh, there you guys are. Well, thank you.
County to the park chaplain.
Okay, thank you very much. On your agenda, I did a cut and paste of one of our neighbors who lives on Haldeman. And we, the Clifton Community Council, we've been reaching out to our neighbors and asking how are the services going? Tell us about your experience so that we can relay it to Councilman Owen. And the description that you have on the agenda, really, from what I'm gathering, is hitting it's spot on as to how difficult it is to have your house to be in a situation. So, okay, now, again, moving along because we want to keep this tight ship. Now, I would like to ask Ann to step up.
Good evening, and thank you for being here. I also want to give a huge shout out and a big thank you to Andrew Owen and to Michael Leary for pulling this together and making it happen. We know that you have concerns about what happened with the accident on Tuesday, and that's what we're here to do tonight, is to attempt to answer those questions. To those of you who have reached out to us with support, thank you. That means more to us than you could possibly know. And it underscores how grateful we are to be longstanding members of this community. We are profoundly sorry, and we are very heartbroken over the loss of two beloved team members. This is an absolute tragedy. We are committed to finding out how this happened and taking steps to prevent anything similar from happening in the future. There are many outstanding questions right now that you have. We have them too. And we won't be able to answer all of those questions right now. Many of you are wondering about the future of Givaudan in this neighborhood and in this community. And while we don't know exactly what the future holds for our current site, please know that we are looking at and prioritizing other locations to continue our operations going forward. We are here to listen to members of the community on what you need and how we can support you. As you may know, we have set up an assistance hotline with a third-party property recovery service, and they are available to take your calls 24/7 if your home or your business sustained damage from the accident on Tuesday. If you need that information, we have flyers here with the phone number and web address for you to submit a claim. That recovery work is underway, and we're prioritizing that, working with the third-party expert we retain as quickly and thoroughly as possible. Please know that the investigation into this accident is ongoing. We don't have all the information right now as to specific causes, so we appreciate your patience on some of those outstanding questions. ATF did confirm this morning that this was an industrial accident, and we have now initiated our own rigorous investigation alongside other government agencies to understand this and help prevent anything similar from happening in the future. I also want to express my sincere thanks to the emergency responders who acted swiftly and heroically to help our people who were on site at the time of the accident. We know there's still a lot of work to do, and there's a lot going on right now. But we are committed to helping you and our team members. We'll continue to inform you as more information becomes available. Thank you again for being here tonight, and I guess we will now move to questions.
Sure. So I'm Andrew Owen. I'm represent this district on Metro Council. This is my community. My house is just a little bit over a mile from the site, so this affected me as well, differently than people who are more immediate to it than me. But so I want to just say again, it's okay for all of us to feel sad, scared, anxious, angry, feel like you're in the dark a little bit. Those are all things that I have felt this week. So I think it's okay for all of us to feel that. But I also want to say that we have a wonderful community, and we absolutely need to show each other grace because we're all feeling these high emotions. We need to show each other grace, and we need to treat each other with respect. And so that's really the only rules here, is that we are doing those two things. So the way we're going to do this is And we're gonna see how it goes, because it may not work, as well as we had hoped. But we have some questions here that I will read, and we'll try to cover as many questions that way as we can. And hopefully those will be kind of the general questions that maybe a lot of people have. And then we'll get to maybe more specific questions a little bit later on. So here is a very basic question, but a good one. Who will be cleaning up the shattered glass and debris inside our homes?
Okay,
Oh, sorry. Let's,
Okay, so, again, if you have called that 1-800 number or if you've submitted an online form, that's what we need you to do, is to say there is shattered glass and debris inside our home. We will then be able to address that appropriately, but we need to know it's there. So I'm not sure if this is representative of multiple questions we received or if that's from one specific individual. But if that is you and you have not yet reached out to that 1-800 number or submitted an online form, please do so that we know about it, and then we will take care of that.
So as a follow-up, and this isn't one that's on an index card, but once people reach out to that third-party organization, how long should they expect it to take before they hear back, number one, and number two, before maybe there's action to get to the root of the problem?
Okay, so there's a good number of you, if you've submitted that form or if you've left something on the 1-800 number, you should have already been contacted. I can't tell you the exact percentage of people, but I know they started on Friday or Saturday, I believe, and they were out there today, they will be out there tomorrow. So there's a good number of folks who have already been contacted. If you haven't, you should be contacted in the next, I would say, day or two. They are moving quite quickly and they got through, a good number of those starting Saturday. Again, there's certain things we'll have to prioritize. We would ask for some patience. I know that there, were some windows that were going to be boarded up before they got repaired. There were some other repairs that were a bit more immediate. So again, if you haven't been contacted, you should be in the next day or so. And once we believe that everyone has been contacted, we will, announce that or make that public. If you still haven't received something, you can call back and let us know. The calls are definitely starting to slow down in terms of what comes in. So, there were a few still received today.
So I've had this question a lot in my office. There are people who believe they have structural damage to their houses and are afraid to be in their houses. Their house hasn't been officially condemned, or they've not been requested to leave, but they're nervous about being there. So when would it be realistic to expect structural engineers to be sent out to take a look at people's house who think they have that type of damage?
Again, we're going to make sure that you are contacted, and for those that do need some assessment or are concerned about structural safety, we will get that prioritized. We will get that looked at just as quickly as possible. There have been a number of those, so we are looking at someone who can come in and do some structural assessment.
So we have a lot of questions similar to that, and so I guess.
So one option too, there have been a few people that have chosen to retain their own structural engineer. That is one option. There is also the option to work it through the third party company. It depends on what your preference is there. So if you have reached out to a structural engineer on your own, I would ask you to please update us, let us know if you have an invoice or a quote or something like that, so that we can definitely move on that as quickly as possible. There are some people that have chosen to do the repairs, and we are happy to get invoices from you and make sure that reimbursement is handled that way.
So this is kind of a historical question and I've heard this in my office, that there, over time, over the last maybe 12 to 18 months, have been alarms going off at the facility for long periods of time, and people have called in about those alarms going off. Can you kind of respond to that? Are you familiar with that issue?
No, I'm not, but I can tell you that there are various alarms in the plant that will go off just to alert the team members there of various circumstances. I'm not sure what qualifies as a
Wait
long-term.
for it to reset. Now wait for it to reset.
Again, it's difficult to answer that question not knowing the specifics, but there are alarms that will go off in the plant to indicate certain things. I'm not aware that they've been going off for extended periods of time.
Okay, so this is a kind of a difficult question, but I think is fair to be asked. Are the negligent claims from employee Angelita Oldham of Givaudan being investigated by a third party? Her accusations are very serious and need to be addressed.
You know, again, the investigation is ongoing. We just finished with the ATF. So we will be doing our own investigation. There are other government agencies that will come in now and do their investigations. And I can guarantee you that everything will be, fully vetted and fully looked into.
What are your evacuation plans for residents in these instances, and were these procedures followed?
Great, you have an input on that?
So depending upon, sorry.
Give him the mic.
Great.
Who are you?
So Greg Miller, Greg Miller.
What do you do?
I'm over operations for the business unit. So, depending upon the situation or what's going on at the plant, we do rely on the first responders to help make sure that the residents in the surrounding area are informed and would be evacuated if need be, as they did with the airline and things that happened during this event.
We can't hear you. Could you start over?
Yes, so depending upon the situation that may have gone on hypothetically here, depending upon what the situation was, we do rely on the first responders helping to coordinate with the local community on any need for evacuation, as they did in this instance.
So you don't have a documented plan?
So depending upon what the situation would be, we would rely on the first responders and their expertise on
Something?
the neighborhood, if we was evacuation needs or anything like that.
What about the plan for the
All right,
displaced
so
people?
let's hold on just a minute. I think that's a fair question that I've gotten a lot in our office too. So people who are displaced, who are out of their homes.
Right.
Yeah.
What's how do you guys suggest that they best approach that with help from the company, hopefully, in terms of finding a place to be, whether it's a short-term rental or a hotel or that sort of thing, and how it would get paid for?
Sure, so it can get paid a couple of different ways. One, if we have the information of who is displaced, if you are in another location right now, that would be helpful to know. We can either set up payment directly, or we can be happy to pick up invoices and do reimbursements. So if you've already incurred costs for that, we need to know about that. And if it is something that still needs to be set up, we can help you with those arrangements.
What's the number there for that?
Yeah.
Again, if you can call the 1-800 number or do the online form.
I've heard several people say that 1-800 line doesn't even work.
It's
So
a-
that was gonna be my next question.
Okay, so let me address that. Let me address that. There has been a lot of talk about that. I will tell you the calls are coming in every day on that line, so it is working. There should be flyers here tonight. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, so the calls are coming in on a daily basis. They're getting captured so that it is working.
Can you tell me the 1-800 number, please? I have that part.
1-800, I know it ends in 3333. We'll get you the last.
Anybody know?
We'll get you a flyer. We will get you a flyer. We will get you a flyer.
All right, thanks.
So, but if you can submit it that way or online, that way we know exactly, who needs to be.
Thanks.
There you go.
So I have a question here. What will be done about residents' mental well-being? And I think I think anybody that has any issues like that, first of all, we have people here tonight that you can talk to, and they can either talk to you tonight or set up an appointment to do something else. So please, if anybody has issues like that, reach out to any of these people here. I would also say the American Red Cross is a great contact. And they have been really helpful here. So that's another place that you can go for that kind of assistance. Let's see here. Okay, so, if there are other questions, if they can be passed up, that would be helpful. In the meantime, if people have a specific question that they would like to ask, what do you say to your neighbors in Clifton who do not trust you to rebuild and operate safely under any circumstances?
So as I mentioned, we hear you. We are listening to you. And we are looking at and we are prioritizing other options.
Yeah. So the answer, and that's a question here that I get, where is Givaudan looking and prioritizing where to relocate to? I mean, I think that's in part, their current site is on a rail line and on a main rail line. So beyond that, if you can.
So, obviously we are not quite a week into this. It is just way too early to talk in any level of detail about what those options might be, but please know that we have started those conversations. So we are looking.
So this is a question a little bit about, it's a historic preservation district, which may or may not, depending on the repair, make it more expensive. So they're saying, will your company cover those expenses up to 100% or at 100%?
Again, our intent is to make the repairs and put things in at least as good a shape as they were prior to the accident. So fully understand that this is a historic district. Again, ma'am, we are committed to doing what's right by the community and to making sure that these repairs are made.
All right, another one about searching for a new location. Okay, so I want to keep it moving. So let's kind of open it up to some questions right here in the purple shirt.
We were told not to move any debris from the factory while the ATF investigation was going on. There is debris behind my home right now. How's the best way to make sure that that gets removed and taken care of?
So the question was, there's still debris, and you were behind the factory, you said?
Yes.
So there's still debris that needs to be taken care of. Again, if you can call the 1-800 number or submit the online form, that way we know that it's there and it needs to be picked up.
I just had a question related to that. Anybody that reached out to the Metro Safe, the Metro government line about that sort of thing, if somebody has come out and taken pictures and then at that point, you can remove the material. And it sounds like, if you want to have somebody else or have the company do that, then they're willing to do that. But in terms of protocol, if somebody has come out and taken pictures, because what we were trying to do there is to be able to see where the metal and the shrapnel was, so we could piece together, I should say, the ATF and the fire department, not me or us, trying to put that puzzle back together. So if they have done that, then the protocol would be that it can go ahead and be removed at that point. Yes, sir.
First of all, I guess I'm very disappointed in the response. I'm your direct neighbor in your backyard. Nobody from the company has reached out, checked on anybody else. As far as I'm aware, my street, myself personally. Yeah, tell
Exactly.
But in my regardless, for the past, I've lived here for a decade or so. What is the obnoxious smell me and my family have been breathing?
Yeah.
For a decade?
And how safe is it?
And I come back today, whenever you'll get control of your plant back, and the smell is back. You can taste it in your mouth when you go outside.
I can tell you that.
And anything that wasn't destroyed now smells that way. All my clothes, everything. Borrow mine.
There you go.
It is. Well,
Testing? Okay.
There we go.
So there have been numerous air quality studies that have been done, that they will continue to do those. All of those have come back with no issue with the air quality. There may still be some lingering smells as cleanup is completed.
It smells like that all the time.
All the
For 30 years I smelled it.
I called.
Again, I
I'm
can't,
saying it's one time. I called way more than one time. Now you can talk or project.
Come on, we need to give space for her to answer, please. So, there are people here from air pollution control. Would you guys want to speak to that at all? I mean.
Good evening, I'm Rachel Hamilton. Louder. I did.
Thank you.
So, good evening, my name is Rachel Hamilton, and I am the director of the Louisville Metro Air Pollution Control District. Louder, please. Thank you.
We'll speak up, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Rachel Hamilton, and I'm the director of the Louisville Metro Air Pollution Control District. Thank you for letting us know that you're observing these odors now. We've had reports over the years, and our compliance officers have investigated them, but we've not determined anything that violates our nuisance regulation. We will have someone come out tomorrow to observe the odors that are there today. Our partners at EMS, the health department, the fire department, have been monitoring the air. They have specialized equipment to do that. And we're glad that they're there in that role. So thank you.
And Chief O'Neill, can you talk a little bit about, you were telling me a little bit about what material might have come from the explosion. And if you can talk a little bit about the sugar and that sort of thing as well, that would be helpful.
Can you hear me on this?
Yes.
So yeah, Chief O'Neill, Louisville Fire Department. All I can speak to for the fire department, our monitoring is for hazardous materials, immediate imminent danger to life and health. We do that right after there. We're checking for any hazmat that's in the air, anything that's actually running off. I can tell you that the EPA is on site because there is some of that sugar runoff from that cooker. And some of it has gotten towards Beargrass Creek, so they're using vacuums to try to keep any of that, it's that caramel that they're processing there, to keep it out of Beargrass as best they can, to control that runoff. But basically, if you think about what that cooker, I can't speak to what's been going on for a decade, but I can tell you that that caramel stuff that was in that cooker exploded and spread all over the neighborhood. It's probably going to stink for a while. But as far as any imminent hazards, that's all we deal with is that, that immediate danger to life and health.
Big piece of metal.
So has a blast zone been determined? And I don't know exactly, I'm not familiar with what that means exactly. Is that a particular technical?
So as far as any kind of a blast zone, what the ATF in conjunction with our arson division is looking at, they do a reconstruction. That's why we asked you to leave everything in place so they can come out and document it and basically then back it up to where it originated. So they were able to discover that it was an overpressure explosion in that cooker number 6. That's exactly what they're looking at as far as a blast zone, how far it went. The investigation is ongoing, but again, we're done. So any other pieces or parts that you find, you're more than welcome to contact the company, or you're more than welcome to throw it away. That's not on us anymore. Do as you please.
Thank you.
Was there a PSI determined or like a pressure that was determined, or is that something that?
That's still part of the
That's still
investigation.
part of the investigation. Okay.
It was definitely an overpressure explosion.
So this is a kind of a specific question about vessel number 6, I guess, the one that was exploded. When was it last inspected? Do you know when it was last inspected and who inspected it?
I don't know the exact date it was last inspected. I do know that there are regular inspections that happen on, a routine basis, and all of that will come out in the investigation.
What about piggybacking off of what we said? We're your direct neighbors behind you. Nobody has reached out to us. We are literally not in our home.
literally.
Like, we're here now,
So have,
paying for our food.
have
Have
you,
mercy on people.
and that's,
Because we haven't heard anything from you guys.
We're homeless.
Good.
Have you
We're
called, have you
homeless.
called yet? Do we have your information?
Yeah, but nobody reach out to us on one day to go to the other.
So what we had also done is we had put flyers on everyone's doors.
Yeah, we're there.
We live directly behind you.
We're trying to
I can even lock my
advertise
door.
the
How many
1-800
people
number.
received the flyer? Just out of curiosity. Rated it really high. How many people received this? That's not very many people.
Keep on telling us, call the number, call the number. We
Yeah,
didn't
we
have
will
it.
get you that number this evening, or you have the option of filling out a form online so that we have your information and we can address your
But how can you
specific
claim
issue.
that you're a good neighbor when we're literally next to you, less than 500 feet, and nobody could walk down the street and talk to him? He has 2 kids. He can't live in his home.
We're the same.
Sure, you feel safe.
2 children.
What about this? Day after my birthday, November the 12th, I'm 15 to 20 feet away. I was at my table on the Zoom with Norton. My door, thank God, something got me to go to my car to leave out my home. And right now, that big boom, that big blast, my glands are swollen behind my ears. My head is in and out with throbbing. That hurts. I'm homeless. I'm walking here with pain that I didn't have to deal with before. You understand what I'm saying?
Lucky to be alive.
Yeah.
Yes, don't get me wrong. I hurt for people. I'm the mother of 6 with 1 deceased. I'm the oldest of 9 with 5 burning a fire. But to go through something like this and to be alive to tell me, no, I can't be quiet on that. I need help. We all need help in here. That bothers me. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Ma'am,
I'm suffering
I'm
from that.
very sorry. I am very sorry.
I'm homeless.
I would like
I have been
to,
homeless. I am 68 years old.
can you and I talk after tonight?
Please.
thank you.
I'm her neighbor, I got hurt.
So, if I can,
She's not the only homeless one.
so anybody that is, I mean, we can stay after and try to connect you. I mean, that's part of what we're doing tonight also, is trying to connect you to a lot of the resources that are available.
Where should those people gather after the meeting in order to receive those instructions?
I think, I mean, I'm gonna be here for a long time after the meeting,
Would you
so,
like them in that corner or this corner? Please give them some instructions so they have something to look for.
let's meet in this corner after the meeting, and I'm happy to do everything I can to try to connect you to the resources that you're.
Why isn't she saying that?
Thank you. We're not gonna get answers to that. She doesn't know anything. She doesn't have any
So-
control over anything. and she
So this one is, what role will Metro play? And I don't, I mean, they talk demo, rebuild, zoning, sticks and carrots, all sorts of things. I mean, I think you've heard from them that they're looking at different sites, at different locations. The conversations that I've had with the mayor are focused on that as well. And what that looks like, we don't know yet, but I think it's likely that the plant will not continue to be at that location. So of all the things about that, in and around that, I think that's the best answer we can give to that question tonight.
And how long will it take to have a real decision of what you just said?
Well, what's realistic?
Again, I can't give a timeline. We are not even a week into it now. So we are starting those conversations and obviously we are anxious to arrive at a conclusion as fast as we can too.
So this is a good,
I'm sorry, I know you keep saying that you feel like it's only a week into it, but that's a whole week of people who have been directly affected. My 5-year-old watched the wounded people come out of the factory through our backyard. My 5-year-old son, who's had nightmares, he's not sleeping. It's been a very long week for the people who aren't standing.
No doubt about that. I fully understand that. I'm just saying,
Just to
a
me,
week
it's
to
very
have a decision on what the next site might be is, it's just not something you can turn around.
I'm just saying just a week is very insensitive to a lot of people.
Well, I'm sorry, certainly do not mean to be insensitive.
So this is an interesting question, and I don't know that we have, what about gas lines? Have they been checked?
Again, I can't speak to that. I know LG has been in the neighborhood. I know they have responded.
If you can't speak to anything, why don't we just line up the resources that you all have, get them to the people that you do, because this is a pressure valve that you didn't have in the situation. And it seems like it's taking the heat off of you all, but it's not really addressing the community need that's immediate.
On the security of the site, the ATF in their statements today.
There's no questions being answered.
That the site is secure, it's not operational, it is secure, so there's no concerns with the gas lines or other things on the site at this point.
I'd like to add, I'd
Chief,
like
you
to
want to add
add,
to that at all?
Yeah, as far as, I mean, if you ever smell any gas, that's an LG&E issue, you can always call 911, we will come if there's any type of, odor of natural gas, but yeah, that's an LG&E issue.
And LG&E decided it's not your responsibility.
You're not gonna, that's the infrastructure act that should the whole, that huge area.
As someone who lives in the neighborhood and who's been out there, I saw LG&E personnel out there going through the yards and testing. So I can't say as a neighbor, I have seen them out there proactively checking.
We can check with, I don't think there's anybody here from LG&E, but we can follow up with them tomorrow and try to get a better answer.
we have.
I know they were. Yeah, they were. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Ms. Leonard, you've talked a lot about taking accountability for this. But how can this neighborhood trust your words of accountability in the face of years of action that point otherwise, that show a lack of accountability, a lack of reaction to neighborhood complaints? How can we trust accountability and change when this is the, third incident in 20 years? What about the death in 2003? How can we trust anything that you are saying without any action to back it up?
Yeah.
The action is going to be the repairs that are being made. Again, a good number of the people who submitted those claims have already been contacted. The remaining people will be contacted in the next day, maybe 2 days, and repairs will start very quickly thereafter.
That's not
So
enough
that is
action.
going to be the action that shows we are.
I just want to say, you covered your ears when there was a malfunction with the microphone. Could you imagine what we felt when it blew up?
How many of
You know,
us?
it's all excuses. You know nothing. It's just all excuses. And I knew this meeting was.
So that's, I mean, that's a fair question. Do you want to ask that question?
Yeah. What brought somebody to the exclusion? Do people need to get their hearing checked? My head has hurt for a week. I have ears ringing.
I had a lot of people say that twice, I've been to that.
And who's gonna pay for that?
Yes.
We call mine.
So one of the questions on here says, would the company be willing to set up a location here at UCHM for like certain hours to have somebody that somebody can come in and talk to and answer questions?
Absolutely. So we will work, I guess, with you and Mike to make that happen.
Okay.
We're not our doctor's visit.
So
It's like I'm feeling pain, headache. I was literally right next door to you guys.
Again, we're gonna set up that time here, I think it's here at this location.
Yeah,
So that's when we can address your concerns and your issues.
I think that is a real step in the right direction. So I hope everyone heard that, but we're gonna have a situation here where it's gonna be like office hours at UCHM, where you can come and meet with the representative of the company and talk to them specifically about your issues. Because while many of us have some of the same issues that we're facing, some of us have very specific issues that are unique to you. And so I think that's a real step in the right direction.
What about the people that work? I can't miss work. You wanna take food out of my mouth?
During work hours.
Well, I think we can figure out times that we can try to accommodate as many people as possible. I mean, I think it's-
Childcare, food, feed them.
Housing.
Okay, let's see. Yes, ma'am.
Hanging out.
Yeah, I think that as I hope that someone from the company, and someone else around here is taking the notes. People say, my hearing has been affected, all of the things have been affected, our structural, the structure of our homes, we're not sure. We can't report something that we can't see.
Sure.
And if there's structural damage to our homes, if there's roof damage, if there's any kind of damage that we can't see, we can't report it. But where's the responsibility of saying, we know that people were in a blast zone, they're probably gonna need a hearing exam. We'll set up a clinic at UCHM so that people, proactive response for someone to have reached out and said to neighbors, you need to get out. I mean, or you don't need to get out. We didn't know. People were like walking down the street, seeing obviously what had happened, but no indication. There was no alert system. There was nothing that said you need to leave or you don't need to leave until you finally saw it on WOKY at 4:15, an hour and 15 minutes later.
So we are absolutely committed, and I've talked to the mayor and deputy mayor James about this, and we don't want to spend too much time on that tonight. But we understand that the Lens alert system failed in this for this situation, and it has failed for in other situations as well. So I know the administration is committed to taking a look at what happened and getting it fixed. You were also saying, is there a representative here from the American Red Cross? The reason I ask is, and some of what you're asking is entirely fair to ask. And there has to be a relationship here between the company and between us and Metro government. And I'll just tell you, for me, I've never done this before. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out what role we need to play. And I'm talking to the deputy mayors, and I'm talking to the mayor, and I'm talking to the American Red Cross. And the reason I asked if they were here is because when I was on the phone with them the other day, she started telling me, here are the questions you need to ask. And these were all questions that I would not have thought to ask because it's not something that I do every day. So I understand where you're coming from. I understand that there needs to be better coordination between Metro government and the company, and that we can do some work to help fill that void. And we're trying to get ourselves up to speed to do that, if that makes sense. But it's a fair question.
Having those representatives, the whole week that this is happening, you just were like, I'll just get there and see if they're there. You know, and we've had a week to get American Red Cross representatives, LGBT representatives.
So we did have the American Red Cross phone number and put that on social media and got that around as much as we could. It's easier, and listen, I know it's not, what I'm hearing tonight, very clearly, I can hear, is that people need to be reached out to, right? It's easier if it can come the other way, but that's not what I'm hearing tonight. What I'm hearing tonight is that everyone needs to be reached out to a certain extent, as opposed to just providing an American Red Cross number. And that's something that we can talk about, but that takes people, and that takes resources and organization and things like that. And that's not what we do every day in Metro government. So, yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Hannah. I live on Waverly Court, 174 yards from the public school. I watched it happen, and it sucked, frankly. But beyond that, I have a logistical question. I'm sure many of us are in a similar boat that dealing with insurance has been difficult. We got a letter from our insurance today saying that they're unclear if the damage that was so obviously caused by the explosion was caused by the explosion. And so we have hired our own structural engineer to do an assessment. We're very fortunate to be able to do that, but there are people in this room who cannot afford to do that.
Exactly.
What are you going to do to help us feel safe in our homes quickly? We are displaced. Our daughter can't sleep in her bed. I know you've already said to call the line. Great. This is a unique situation where insurance companies are gonna be talking to insurance companies over a home, which is much different than a car crash where they're very used to having that back and forth conversation. Our insurance adjuster said we don't do this. This has really never happened before. We're unclear what to do here. So do you have any, beyond calling the number, we called the number, I've filed, I've heard from you guys. You came out, took pictures of our home today. What can you do? Do we give you the receipt for the, and then what do you do if you can't afford it?
If you've already paid your structural engineer, yes, we will. And you can, reach out to us again through that line. You can stick around afterwards, but someone will get that invoice from you. You're welcome. And in terms of folks who haven't taken the step you have and are waiting for that, we are trying to get out to everyone as fast as we possibly can.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
What about doing it on the front end? This is with 3 aspects, about proactive. And let me tell you, everybody here, you share the same story as my son and daughter-in-law, who are 250 feet away and we're the first line of people that the police, connected with as they walk out of the plant. And at the end of the day, you don't know what to do. You don't know what you should be looking for health-wise because you were in this blast. What kind of blast was it? My friend who's a retired fire chief said, you should be checked out for concussions. You should be looking for, signs of concussion. This was a really bad blast. Nobody knows what to do, and we'll talk about reaching out. I have said multiple times, they didn't even get flyers. Has reached out
So many of us aren't home, so flyers aren't necessarily a great way to get in touch with us.
Right, and so it's like, no one wants to be overreactive. And then a couple times, my daughter-in-law said, I don't want to be gaslighting myself. But, there's very real issues that are taking place with them being displaced, 2 small children, one of them experiencing the situation, and all the other stories people have told of health issues, et cetera. Nobody knows what they're supposed to be doing, like what, and the American Red Cross has been absolutely useless. Now we have to talk to them, and I'm, go very public with how terrible their response is. Again and again and again, and at the end of today, again. Claiming there's no structural damage to their home, they cannot help them, not giving them any other help about anything else. And so we keep hearing, call this 800 number, call your insurance. They've done all those things. They're still sitting here with displaced without help. So is everybody else.
So I think the answer to this is that we need a representative from the company to be at UCHM, and we also need to have a representative from the American Red Cross to be at UCHM as well. So I think they're going to be better equipped to be able to say, here are the things that you should be doing in terms of whether it be hearing, whether it be concussions, whether it be, I think they're going to be, and maybe public health, Metro Public Health could be involved in that too. But I think that of all the things that we've talked about tonight, where we can actually make some progress, hopefully in the very short term, is to get those people in the room and make them accessible to everybody who is in a really difficult spot.
I think part of this is too, is I'm a renter, and luckily I was sleeping and my ceiling fell on me, but I was fine, fortunate, but I think what everybody's saying is the company should have a house inspector that I think could come with every house, right? Like, not so much so you take that insurance part out of it, and then that way when they determine, if they say like, oh, it's, whatever.
So
it has to
I
happen.
think, have you had any inspections done to this point on structure?
I don't know that they've actually done the actual inspection. I think they've been able to do the initial first steps, which is getting the information, taking the pictures. They're gonna have to.
I'm a renter, so it's different.
Yeah.
I'm just,
They're gonna have to get inside, so they're gonna have to schedule that. But, I think right now we'll start with, or have been starting with the people that reported that.
Right.
I hear your point. We will take that up, in terms of, blanketing it out to the next layer.
I just know that people that can't get through the line, which is fine, I mean, obviously that's a good way to do it online, but people that don't have online, because they're not in their house, online doesn't matter, or, everybody's got a phone, but I think starting from that, like getting a company that does have protection both girls in, that can kind of like be the, you know what I mean? Like
That's a
and
great
maybe
idea.
have-
Yeah, and
We have a lot of short-term issues we definitely need to get solved, and I don't want to discredit any of those. My question is, for us homeowners who live in the area who are fearful about their home value moving forward, maybe not being able to sell their home for what it's worth, what would you say to them in the long term? You know, what are we gonna do in a year or two when we're looking at possibly
Our retirement.
$200,000 for home?
Yeah, again, if there are concerns about structure, and I'm assuming you're talking about structural integrity?
No one wants to buy a house next to the exploding factory.
The bad one, the bad.
It blows up every 20 years. Let's move there.
No, you alluded to moving on.
So I think so some of that would be alleviated if they relocated to a different location. Yes.
Anybody else's problem?
Yes, ma'am.
And maybe you guys can't tell us this, but like my house is fine. I mean, I have cracks, but I could repair them myself, I can paint them myself. I kind of have come to this, we need to know, should I be? And I think the blast zone would be helpful. Like, I'm 700 feet from the place, but just like you said, I haven't been up on my roof. Because I have windows and because I have doors and the ceiling didn't fall and none of that is like, I've just been waiting to like know what it is I should be doing. And to your point, I don't know, am I not close enough that if I get a structural engineer and you want you to pay for it, you say, oh, you're not close enough. Like, I think some of us are secondary, but like my biggest thing is like, should I be doing this stuff?
It's a great question. I mean, and I think that's, I don't know the answer to that question. You have, I mean,
I probably would, if I was in your shoes, I probably would. Now, to your point, you said right now all you're seeing are small cracks, so it may not be obviously the top priority. I've already come out to look at.
Exactly, I can wait. Like, I don't know when it's too long to wait or, you know.
You know, again, if we can get you on the list and it's very clear in the notes that says, I don't consider myself a high priority, I've got minor cosmetic.
but I also think it's important though, you mentioned roofs and we shouldn't ignore that fact. I mean, when you're standing on Main Street next to the entrance to the company, there's a house with a gouge through the roof that's this wide.
No, that's not.
Mia, did you say you were 700?
Did not.
Did you say
So-
700 feet?
So I think it's important that we remember that it is more than just structure.
But I just want to mention, we had our roof inspected today, and you would not see any damage, like if you were just looking from below. And our insurance company has assessed that they're gonna be giving us a whole new roof because there is debris damage. So even if it doesn't look like your roof is damaged, if you're close enough to the factory, you should have it inspected.
Okay.
Who's gonna pay the code? That's right.
Great question.
I think that is a great question, but it sounds, listen, I'm hearing what you're all hearing. It sounds to me like they're committed to making people whole. So as it relates to co-pays, as it relates to replacement.
In an effort to get out ahead of what I think is probably our next danger point as a neighborhood, what is the communication plan for when the demo is going to begin and what safety measures are going to be put into place during that demo? Because that, like I said, is going to be the next danger point for the neighborhood in terms of noise, debris, particles, potential chemicals, smells, etc. So in an effort to get out ahead of the next problem, what's the plan communication-wise, logistically, and involvement from Metro and safety?
That's a plan that we're gonna have to put together. You're absolutely right. We need to put it together and be out in front of it if we can.
Off the top of your head, what would be the communication that we should look for that will give the details on that?
Well, most of you know, who I'm your council person, know that I'm pretty allergic to social media. I'm not a social media person, because I watch my colleagues do it and they spend 3/4 of their day trying to figure out what content they're gonna post. And I'd rather be working than doing that. In this case, it is a good way to get information out. So I will tell you, I'm committed to kind of re-engaging on social media to try to get as much information that way as I can. And then I'll talk to my staff about other ways that we can get it out as well.
Nextdoor.com.
I'm allergic to that too. This is right here.
Yeah, it works. See, we touched on it earlier, and I think I got started over. A lot of people were talking about the alarms that are always going off. I'm right behind you, and I hear it all the time. And you say there's regular inspections done, all the stuff, of equipment. Who's doing those inspections? Because whenever you say you're doing inspections, I can't put much weight on that, whenever you couldn't even count the amount of people that were in your building.
Sir, again, the plant is not in operation, so there
No,
won't be any alarms.
Who's responsible for doing that?
What I would really like to do tonight is focus on those of you
Why not
that
give
still
me
have
that?
home repairs that need to be made. Again, you're not gonna have any alarms going off, there isn't gonna be any operations taking place, so that will not be an issue.
I actually feel like we maybe are getting somewhere. I mean, in the, no, that we have changed that to be that we're gonna have people come here.
Oh, so physically come here?
Yes.
Are you gonna be here?
I know that me personally,
Somebody
will have a
from the company
representative, yes.
will be here. And I think that's a huge positive step. So I just want to push back a little bit and say, I do think we're actually making some progress here.
You want to talk about home repairs? You mentioned home repairs. I just want to talk about that. Why do you believe that they're going to make us whole? Because that's just an odd thing for a council person to say, to make the assumption that we're going to be made whole. There are a lot of intangible harms that we're hearing. Some of them are more physical. My heart goes out to you. Some of them are long-term property damage, chemicals on the roofs. And yes, I want somebody to come out there that's a structural engineer, but I want them to be third party. Because if you come in as the company and tell me that, oh, this just cracks in the plaster, how do I trust that? Everyone in here has a case. And if you speak to legal counsel, they're going to tell you to not talk to the company. So now the company is putting on this event as a pressure valve. And the reason the council person is telling us we're going to be made whole, we all have cases and we're going to pursue
So
those
just
cases.
in all fairness, I did not tell you we were going to be made whole. What I said was what I thought I was hearing from them.
I don't hear it.
Okay.
I don't hear whole.
That's perfect.
I don't hear whole.
3 months from now, the media will be gone. They'll be on to something else, but we'll still have these problems.
Well, we're trying to deal with those in the next few days. If we can get people here and get the right people in the room. Yes, sir.
Can we like directly next to the train tracks and our garage was like completely destroyed? Our house too, yeah. And if we can get a car out of the garage, how are we supposed to get it out?
We have people breaking in and stealing our stuff.
Someone's broken into it.
Oh, so that's a good question that came up earlier today.
All of our apartments.
Yes.
So that's a good question that came up earlier today. Can you address what we might do from a security standpoint for people whose houses they've had to leave and are vacant at this point, and people know they're vacant?
So Mike, I know we were working on getting a list of those addresses, so that was gonna be where we started. We do have a security company.
Secure your house.
Oh, yeah.
So can you say that again so everybody?
Yeah, so we were trying to get a list together of addresses of homes that do need to have security, checking them out or monitoring them. Mike, I don't know if we've got that list of addresses put together yet, but.
I would encourage them, because the councilman's office is much easier to contact than my private home. If you go by Councilman, if somebody has a house that they know or an address, you can send that address to you, that they suspect is vacant because of the evaluation. And that it needs to be secure and it needs to have security, especially at night.
The gentleman in the back.
Hi there. You are at 1901. I'm your neighbor. I'm 1900 and 1902. How you doing there?
First off, I'd like to thank Givaudan for the 1,000-pound lid to the tank in my yard and the 600-pound twisted I-beam that looks like it came out of the World Trade Center Ground Zero. I'd like to thank you for that. Secondly, my dad told me that there's 3 things to an apology. The first one, you say, I'm sorry. Anybody can say words. That's easy. Second one, this is what I did wrong. You guys have kind of started that. Third one, this is how I make it right, and this is how I do better. I call on Givaudan right now to clean that property up, decontaminate it, make it into a park, and name it after the men you murdered. Do it. It's not that you guys are worth $40 billion. Why don't you donate a little piece of property in little old Louisville, Kentucky? You guys are publicly traded. You guys are one of the probably about top 150 largest companies in the world market cap. Give a little parcel of land and name it after the man you murdered. It's a drop in the bucket. You guys make that. You guys make the money that property is worth in 1 minute.
My name is Glenn. My house is about 300 feet up the alley from Givaudan. And before the plant exploded for what I thought was just the second time, my biggest complaint for the last 15 years that I've owned that property has been air quality.
Yes.
Now, we've heard a little bit tonight about that air quality is measured. It's safe. But what I've been told when I've spoken with Air Pollution Control, who I'm glad is in attendance tonight, or a representative is in attendance, is that smell is not supposed to exit the footprint of the factory. That is what I was told. Now,
I can't even smell Butchertown anymore.
I've called numerous times myself. I know neighbors have called numerous times about this. I'm a little alarmed by Air Pollution Control's response, not to put this on you, Rachel, but the calls have been made. Now, whether or not Givaudan stays in our neighborhood or they're relocated to another neighborhood, we have all called for some reason, whether it's air quality, whether it's debris on our cars, whether it's alarms. And I'm personally worried that if it's not the Clifton neighborhood, it's going to be Rubbertown dealing with this, or somebody else dealing with equipment that's not scrubbing the air properly, alarms going off. So whether they're in our neighborhood or not, there's still going to be a corporate member of the little community. And I want a responsible corporate member of the little community that's going to monitor, that's going to respond to the community in the ways that they need to, that's going to obey environmental protections. And so whether or not they stay in Clifton or not, I want to make sure that they're not going to cause a problem for our other neighbors.
Is there a list or do any list of potential chemicals, whether likely or unlikely that we could have been exposed to in class?
So the question was, is there a list of chemicals, or will there be a list of chemicals that we potentially could have been exposed to? Yes, we can make that available in terms of what was on site at the time. Again, the air quality was tested immediately following and very soon after the accident, and it continues to test just fine, but we will certainly make that available.
Right back here.
So I know that we talked a lot about this specific factory. I was just wondering, is there anyone looking into the safety of all the other factories in the area to make sure that this doesn't happen in the trades? How about the trades?
All the other factories in the area?
I feel like in Clifton, like there's the smell that comes from there. And it's kind of, it's a very industrial thing.
So, who's the best to talk about this? So, I mean, there are all sorts of regulations in place all throughout the county. And there are multiple agencies that's their job all the time to do that. And they're constantly doing inspections, get certifications, all sort of things like that. So I can't tell you exactly who does what, but I can assure you that that's part of what Metro government does those inspections and those certifications, and you can't operate if you haven't met those requirements. Yeah.
What's the company's approval process for repaying these things? The reason I ask is a lot of our homes are old. Our house was built in 1910. There's visible damage like broken windows, but there's cracks in the floor that have gotten bigger. There's cracks in the walls that have gotten bigger. When we all bought our homes, would have had an inspection and someone to say, this is where it is today. I don't know where it is anymore, and our home value's taken a tank already. So how's the company reviewing the expenses? Like, my fear is we're gonna have someone in and they're gonna say, oh, this is, we're not covering this. This isn't part of the damage from the plant. Like, how do we feel, how is that process gonna work if we say, this was not like this yesterday on Monday, today it's like this, what is the plan for approving those expenses and how will that go?
Sure, so one of the reasons why we did outsource this to a third party was that they have the expertise to do exactly that. We do not. So they will come in, they will do the inspection, and I think we have to let that process play out, right? For those of you that may have a starting point of where your property was versus where it is today, that's helpful. If you don't have that, they will have structural engineers, they will have, folks that are well-versed in those type of home repairs that can look at it and will have a good idea of what potentially could have happened as a result of this accident. And again, we're gonna be very fair, we're gonna work with you. So I think, we've gotta get someone out. I'm assuming you've reported your issues, you were on the list. We will get someone out, to look at your property and we take it from there. Does that answer the question?
I want to know how many people do you have assigned? You're a corporation, you assign business units. Is there a business unit assigned to cleaning this up? Who is accountable? How many people are working on this issue specifically?
Again, that's why we're gonna use the third party because.
No. There has to be measures within your company if it is acceptable or not, the third party. You're not listening to me. I understand that you've been taking a lot of anger and there's a lot of grief below a lot of this too. And you're probably not wanting to feel that, but I know that you do. And what I'm trying to ask is the human spot of how many people from your company are taking an interest in this and being assigned to take care of this?
I can tell you that everyone in the company is.
That's bullshit.
It's okay, you get us our thoughts and prayers. We're all good.
Hi, going off this question, so again, like someone mentioned, if you talk to an attorney, they will likely say, your company coming in and looking at my house, I don't know if that's beneficial to me because we are going through our insurance company. So again, going back to what my husband said, if we're gonna go through our own insurance company for this, because your response to him was to use your company to determine that. So if we go through like our own company, our own insurance, and then, our deductible, send that to you, like our deductible, we know what it's gonna be, but I think, most of us don't want to use this company because we don't necessarily trust you all or whatever, so we're trying to figure that out.
The option of using your own insurance company and us covering the deductible.
We had this conversation with a couple of you all, probably, I assume that the people we've been speaking to are in the room. We had this conversation today with somebody, and all we're saying is, all I'm saying is, if it were me, I would have their person do it and then have my person do it.
Yeah.
And I think that makes the most sense.
A lawyer would say differently, and I don't know why you are representing this company.
I'm not. I'm just telling you what I would
It
do.
really seems like you're representing this company.
Yeah.
I really.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Yeah. You came on, he didn't say he wanted to stay here. He said, oh, this is not the day to talk about whether.
Siding with the corporate interests.
I want to stay here. You know what you said, Tom Song?
So you say that you're going through a third-party company to assess it, and that's perfectly fine. But for transparency reasons, can we get the name of the third-party company you're using?
Belfor, Belfor. You may also have someone from Crawford Company. So they will assist Belfor. So you should hear from Belfor, Belfor.
So Crawford came out to our properties and the adjuster actually said that they don't cover belongings, or they'll only cover belongings minus depreciation. And then as far as repairs go, as basically as little as possible to cover the repairs, and then our own insurance will have to cover the rest. So I think that
Let's talk afterwards.
there's some disconnect between what the message is in your third party and what you're telling us today, and that it's not pretty.
It would be
I would tell
helpful
the
if I could
person
get specific details from you, that would so help.
And they weren't sure who was gonna pay for it.
Yep.
They did not let a structural engineer, they would not pay for that.
Again, they're not the ones paying for it, we are.
Well, no one's paying for it, they won't do it.
Are you paying for these homeless people's house
When everyone's talking, we can't hear. Can we get back here?
Just to kind of echo that, Balfour reached out to me and I was trying to get more information from her about the process. She told me not to go through insurance and I asked next steps and she didn't know, at least the person that I talked to. So again, I think a little bit more communication with those third parties would be helpful because I don't want my rates to go up for my insurance. So I think a little bit more information would be helpful, and I don't have any kind of timeline, so.
That's the question. Somebody from assigned from your company to be dealing with them 40 hours a week at least.
Again, we don't have the staff or the expertise to do that. Which is why we're using the third party.
Hire someone.
This is the crisis PR.
Yeah. Sorry, right back here.
So what happens if there's a difference between your company evaluating the price of the damages and everything versus who we go to? Are you only gonna cover like what your company said versus maybe what ours said? And then what happens if we don't really want to go through insurance? Like is there a world where we could say this is how much damage our property had and then you give us a check for that instead?
Again, I can't answer that question just hypothetical without having details, but if you have gone to your insurance company or if you are using Belfour and there is a difference in, as long as it's not obviously wide ranging and significant, that would be perfectly fine. I would expect there to be some difference.
Okay.
Back here in the back.
Yes, sir. I have a question I want to go back to earlier in the meeting. My daughter and her boyfriend live directly behind the plant. And it's a wonder my daughter's alive today. A 1,000-pound piece of stainless steel tank landed by her porch where she was sitting. It blew the whole kitchen into their apartment with her standing on the porch, which I don't understand how the concussion didn't kill her. Their cars are ruined, sitting in their backyard. They don't have a place to live. And you said that there would be direct people to contact and sit down with the company. Can I get a number for that tonight? Where they called the 1-800 number and they said they would pass it on. So you said that there would be company representatives who would sit down with the people and talk. They need to talk to somebody tomorrow.
So we will get them set up. It will not be a company representative because unfortunately that's not what we do. We can get that claim, those issues addressed much. Yeah, if I did, I misspoke. But what we can do is to get this claim moving as efficiently as possible, that is the reason for using a third party provider. They can just do it much more quickly. So if you want, we'll stick around afterwards. We'll make sure we've got your name and contact information. We've got a few details, and then we can look into that.
So once again, our car is and we can't get inside of it. How are we supposed to get it out? When can someone come get it out? Are y'all gonna pay for a rental? I just need to know how we're supposed to get around.
Okay, so again, if we can get your name, make sure we've got that prioritized. I don't know how you get a car from the garage, but someone certainly will, so we can get that. No, but we'll find the right people to do that work.
Are you gonna release any documents about the tank that exploded the week before?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
Are you going to communicate then here with social media right now with that?
I will definitely be on my social media, my council office social media. And we'll talk about how else we can get that disseminated. And I will try to get that disseminated as broadly as I can, as quickly as I can.
What are you discussing? I'm sorry. What are you gonna make available? Because that was my question. When she said she could give us a list that they would be posted, where is that list gonna be?
The list
Of the chemicals that were released when the explosion?
Yeah, the question up here was about when we would have the meeting here, when people would be available to meet here at this location.
Okay, my question is, where is that list gonna be found?
The list of chemicals? Yeah, we will make sure that we work with Mr. Owen and make sure that that is available to everyone. We'll figure out the best way to get that to you.
And we'll also work with the Clifton Community Council, who has a pretty good contact list. So we're going to be thinking of all the ways that we can to help get the information disseminated as broadly as we can. The gentleman in the back.
Seems like most of this is a logistics problem, as who's going to pay for it. It seems to me like a multinational company should have tables set up tomorrow or Thursday with debit cards or $100 bills for people so they can get relief now. As far as I know, that's the way FEMA does it, right? I don't know why FEMA's not involved in this, and because it's not a natural disaster, I guess. I don't know. These people could be put in trailers. Yeah, I'm not sure. I live 3/4 of a mile away. I wouldn't really expect it, but I used to work right next door, so it kind of scared me. So is that even a remote possibility to fund a bank account where this nice lady who's homeless and the gentleman and everybody else can somehow get some relief now?
Now.
That seems to be, we can do that. It seems, yeah.
Over here.
My main question really, because I feel like a lot of people have asked a lot of important questions. Mine's really more about the accountability of kind of like the official news reports. I believe it was WDRB I was reading about, where there was an employee even days leading up to the explosion that was telling coworkers, stay away from that vessel, it's overheating. You talk about all these inspections and stuff, but it honestly sounds like something that if a foreman were paying attention, if anyone on site would have been paying attention or listening to this other employee, it almost sounds like you probably could have prevented it. Right. You know, if a lot of people up the chain were doing their job. So I'm really just curious because it kind of seems like you said you don't know much about anything that's happened, but the ATF's kind of said a lot on the news, like in an official capacity. So I'm really just kind of curious about that because you don't seem very clear.
Until the investigation is completed, we won't know.
So you don't know why you aren't listening to your employees, days ahead of time?
I'm not aware that came out days ahead of time. Again, that will be part of the investigation.
Right here.
If your company, Givaudan, is passing the buck to these third-party surveyors, why can't you have them here? If they're the ones making the decision and not your companies, why can't you have some third parties?
I would not say they're the ones making the decisions. They are simply collecting the information and they have the widest network
But
of
there's the
repairs.
local team, there's the liaison between you and these four people.
Right, but they are not making the decisions. We have already said we're paying for it. They are simply there to help us get those inspections scheduled and get the work scheduled. They can do it much faster and much more efficiently than we can.
Let's go back here.
So in addition to knowing what the chemicals were, are we going to get that definitive blast zone? Are we also going to get more information about the science of how strong the blast was, some numbers there? We have little kids. I have a 4-year-old son. He's irritable, he's angry, his nightmares is not the same. And I want information on this for his safety, because I don't understand what you might need. I want to know how many people are affected, how strong the blast was, and how that affects your brain and your body.
Yes.
So how do we get that information?
Ma'am, I don't have, unfortunately, that exact answer for you tonight, but what I can tell you is we are going to set up, you can come here, you can go to your private doctor. We will make sure that your son, your kids are fully checked out.
Can we get some kind of science on like how big a blast that impact was? Something, I mean, I'm not a scientist, I don't understand how that works, but can we get a radius? Can we get a number on what that was?
I'm not either, but we will ask how that
Steel
works.
tank,
I'm not
120 yards deep.
And can't talk about the science of it, but we'll certainly ask.
I think we can ask the question. I don't know.
We don't either.
Yeah, right, so I know. So I think I can ask the question of Metro government and see if there's anybody in Metro government that knows the answer to
We don't
that.
know.
I don't know.
Maybe they
Right here.
They were checking to see what the blast zone was.
ATF?
ATF. They came through my house and examined everything, and the lady said she couldn't answer questions, she was a low peon, but her job was to find out the damage in the different houses to come up with a blast zone.
So I know that we don't know,
That answers
but
any of your questions.
yeah, I haven't. So I know we don't know, and we're all aware that we don't know. So what is the next step of getting that information? I know you said you're gonna do.
So I think reaching out first to ATF, but also talking to other people in Metro government who know a heck of a lot more about this stuff than I do.
Right.
And trying to find if we have those resources to get that information.
Is that something that you can do on our behalf?
That is.
By emailing? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right, I'm Tony. Thank you, Mike, for this. Thank you, Councilman, for being here. Appreciate that. I've heard a lot of sad stories tonight. The most pathetic thing I've heard is Councilman Owen talk about bringing in the Red Cross while a representative for a multi-billion-dollar company.
Not here.
It's so unfair to the answers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clearly, on the top of the mayor meeting, that company is clearly responsible.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Right here.
Can we also get information about how that might affect us for like science about like long-term effects? Because there's information of, I mean, in hospitals, if you're exposed to chemicals, there's a whole thing that tells you if you're exposed, what to do, certain side effects and everything. So with that, can we get more information in depth of if you are exposed? You know, all that extra information.
I am sure that information is available. We will certainly do everything we can to make that available.
So we've got about 5 more minutes. I will, and I'll call.
He had that for a really long time. Yeah.
So is he.
Violations. All this niggas here go be over. They were cited for faulty valves, not able to produce log books, yet they were still able to run.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah,
They should have shut down in 2023.
Why'd they add a boiler last year? Why was there an extra boiler? Did anybody notice that boiler that was added?
Yeah, I seen it.
You know what I'm talking about? So that started last year, right before they sold the company. To get the production up.
You know, we go through a number of very rigorous third-party audits required by the various food and beverage
They weren't passing them. He's saying they weren't passing them.
That was cited in
Yeah, they got
$2,023.
$10,000 for not doing it.
Y'all still open for bid. Why? If y'all got faulty valves, y'all should have been shut down, and maybe that boiler 6 wouldn't have blew.
That's a government issue. Two people.
So you can be cited, and this is, again, I am not trying to defend anyone here, but you can be cited for something and then come back into compliance once you've taken care of it. So just because you were cited doesn't mean you're gonna get shut down.
But I was there the same night, I live right down the street, and I heard the ATF say they just did not produce law for them. I heard it myself.
You
I walked down.
It was grandfathered in. Like, how much sense does that make for like public safety and zoning and permitting to be
But
grandfathered?
everything's been put up on a third party.
Again, looking ahead, we've heard assurances of payment and assistance. Is that
payment and assistance going to be contingent upon these people releasing your liability if they accept that payment and that?
Good question.
No, I think the payments, again, for folks that need immediate help with a place to stay, with food, with transportation, things like that, it's not contingent on anything. That is just getting through the day-to-day until we can get to the bottom of all of the issues that we're dealing with here.
So I'll ask it one more time to be super, super clear for everybody in the room. If people received money from you, assistance, not from you personally, but from the company, they will not be required to sign a release of liability as a contingency for receiving that money or that help.
I would imagine that once you get the repairs done, there may be some paperwork that's signed. Is it contingent? I don't know. I'd have to speak with our legal. But what we were talking about is giving people immediate payments for things like food, a place to stay. That is not going to be contingent on signing paperwork.
So we're going to answer 2 more questions because we've got 5 minutes. So we're going to go there, and then I'll just say, I'm going to stay for a while. So anybody that has specific things that they want to talk to me about.
Are we just gonna be out in the cold from here on?
Well, so I'm hoping that we're going to be able to have representatives from the company and potentially others here in this room or somewhere on this site where you can come and meet with them directly. And that would be, I think, more productive.
Ongoing into the future?
I mean, at least opportunities for people at different times of the day. We're going to set those things up. I think that would, what I'm hearing, I think that would be more productive on a kind of one-on-one basis to address specific needs than this. If we need to have another one of these at some point, we can talk to the Clifton Community Council about doing that. And I'm sure they're happy to host, and I'd be happy to moderate again.
Yeah.
So this guy right here.
So I live at 1931 Payne, so I could throw a rock to the factory, right? I just want to make sure that I heard Ms. Leonard correct in saying that if the insurance company for me and the insurance company for them have discrepancies, you will only cover what your insurance company covers. And no, I heard you say if it's far off, you will not cover the difference.
No.
So if I send you an invoice for the whole thing, I will get it paid. Can I get that in writing?
You will be paid for the whole thing.
Can I get it in writing that I would be paid for the whole thing?
I think if you'll come to one of to what we're talking about and do that in person, I think that's the time to have that conversation.
Don't sign
That's here, this is the last one, and then.
We own the factory on Spring Street also.
There's an office building on Spring Street. We don't have one.
Okay, so we've been here for 90 minutes. I'm going to turn it back over to Michael Leary.
How soon are you gonna set up that table to give out assistance to these people who are all?
I want to point out, and Councilman will sit Anybody who wants to make donations for those that have been elected office.
So a lot of people have expressed interest in doing so. That's the only reason he's addressing it.
Giving out money for people who need it. Sorry.
Thank you. But if anybody wants to make a contribution,
How soon is that gonna happen?
what we're saying is.
Let the company hurt. So that's
Right
about me.
after your actual ministry, and organization. Also, this is another thing that I've experienced. Is when you're talking to somebody who says they're a representative, please ask for identification. And because I spoke to somebody and I had no idea who it was, and he said, you couldn't have a form for identification. I felt like that. So, and also, I did neglect to point out that Honey Brothers provided the coffee for tonight.
Dominic.
Thank you very much for coming tonight.
Please get a cup of Honey Brothers coffee to take with you.